So what we're going to do now is take an actual look at the software itself. So we'll just log in to the user interface, and this will give us full visibility into everything that's happening in our organization. If we click the dashboard first, it's going to show us a series of reports that will show us everything that people are up to. It can show us the amount of time that they're spending web surfing, which are the most popular websites that people are visiting, but it can do a lot of other things. For example, show you who's sending email attachments out of the organization. And you can look at this data any way you want. You could look at a particular department, the entire company, or you could look down at a specific individual. And then you can create the reports that you want, and you can place them where you want so that when you log in, you'll always see that view. It'll actually memorize your preferences.
This seems like a web-based interface. Can I view this from anywhere, or is this tied to a specific machine?
No, it's web-based, so you could, as long as you allow access to it, you could do it from anywhere. You could just log in using a standard web browser. It's all secure, 128-bit encrypted. Log in with your username and password, and you can not only see the activity from anywhere, but you can also, as long as your permissions allow it, make settings changes and create policies that will automatically be pulled down to all the computers that are being protected with InterGuard.
You mentioned permissions. Can I give different administrators different levels of access to the information?
Yeah, you could, for example, have some people that only have read-only access. They can actually create policies, whereas other people may have the ability to create policies but only view into their specific department, whereas a super user, for example, might be able to do anything regardless of where that employee is in the organization.
It's fantastic.
So if we look at the recorded data tab, the recorded data tab is going to essentially show us all the things that have been recorded, all the activity. It'll show you all the emails that have been sent and received, both with webmail as well as email clients like Outlook or Outlook Express. It'll grab all of the instant message conversations, such as ones that are done on MSN Messenger, Yahoo Instant Messenger, AOL, etc. It'll also grab all the keystrokes that people have typed, no matter what the application. It'll show you the websites that they visited, any searches they've performed. It can take screenshots of user activity, and it will also allow you to record how active people are in all the programs that they're using on their computer. So if we look at the email tab very quickly, you can see at the top all of the different emails that have been sent and received. If we click on a particular one, you'll see the actual email, the text of that email in the bottom pane there, and you can see that the words Dave Miller are highlighted. The reason for that is because Dave Miller was set as an alert word. Those are words that we can set that are important to us. So it'll scour all the communications, and no matter where that word is typed, whether it's a Word document or an email, those will be flagged so that they can quickly be looked at. So the word might be merger if we're worried about that, or a particular project name, anything. We do the same thing with instant message. It essentially will log all the conversations, both sides of that. The keystroke monitor will actually grab keystrokes that are typed in every single application. It will show you all the individual applications, so I could look at, for example, all of the people that did Word documents. And if I click on one of those, I can actually see the Word document itself. So in this case, there's two of them. If I click the first one there, I can actually see all the keystrokes that were typed in Word. And at the top there, you see the formatted data. That is what the person was trying to write. And if you look below that, you see the raw data, which is the actual keystroke logs in the order that they were typed, including backspace, delete, etc. What's interesting about this is that it's often used for forensic investigations because you can actually see the intent of the person. So even though the finished document might not contain some of the keystrokes that went into it, when you look at the raw data, you can actually see, for example, the thought process that went into it before they thought better of it and deleted it. So that can be used oftentimes by the legal department in employee investigations.
Could you give me a specific example of how that might be useful?
Sure. Well, let's say you have some sort of an event that happens, and then the legal department says, look, let's go back a month, 2 months, whatever, and let's look at what this employee was up to. And then you'll see all kinds of things where they will send an email, for example, to say, I hate my boss, I think I'm going to kill him tomorrow. They might think better of it and say, on second thought, I'm going to hit delete, delete, delete. He's a really nice guy. So you can see all kinds of things like that in the keystroke logs that you won't see in the finished document. So even if you use a very advanced piece of forensic software, all of that's gone. Whereas with InterGuard, you're going to have access to all of that. If we go to the next section there, you look at websites. This will show you all of the websites and how long every single employee spends on each particular web page if you desire. It'll break it up by domains so that you can just look at a particular domain if you're interested in that, or you can look at actually the individual web pages. And if you click one, and then you click the link that's there in the bottom, you can actually see the website that they went to. and it'll show you the specifics of what they were looking at, and you could essentially recreate someone's entire day if you so desired. It'll also show you, if you have web filtering enabled, any sites that are blocked and then what the block trigger was. Searches performed will actually break out the individual searches. For example, you can see here one of the search that's kind of interesting. Somebody did a search here, John Williams, for best ways to sue your employer. Well, that's a little troubling, and that's probably something we want to look into a little further. And if we click the actual result listing, we can see the actual search that they saw and the results that they saw. The next thing down there is screenshots. Screenshots allow you to take screenshots of user activity. So you could, for example, set any number of triggers. You could say every time the word recruiter is typed or read on a web page, as an example. And what that'll do is it'll take a screen grab every time someone types that word or they see it on a website. You can also set triggers such as visiting a certain website or opening up a particular software application. So in this case, we had set Windows Live as the website to trigger, and then we had to take a screenshot every 10 seconds. So we can hit the play button here after we've clicked on the thumbnail, and it'll show us the specifics of what the person did as if we were sort of watching them on a video camera. You can see the activity as if you were sort of standing over their shoulder. And this allows you to take screenshots that are grouped by a particular trigger. So if you're only concerned, for example, when your CFO is using his accounting software because you suspect that he may be cooking the books, you can have it just take screenshots of that particular activity. That way when you go back, if you want to look at what someone did, you don't have to dig through tons of screenshots. This feature is actually called Smart Camera, and the reason it's intelligent and smart is because of the fact that it will pause if the window that you're trying to monitor loses focus, or if the employee goes away from their computer for a few hours, and then it will automatically restart when it detects activity, so when they're actually typing or using the mouse in that particular application.
Does that only work on websites, or can I do that with applications as well?
No, you can do it either one. So you could set a particular website. You could even set a particular subsection of a website. For example, MySpace.com you might not be too worried about, but if they go to MySpace forums, then you want to take screenshots. You can do that. Or you could say every time they open up their MSN Messenger, or every time they open up their Paint program, whatever, and then you can take screenshots of just their activity in that particular application. And
what if I wanted to record in screenshots everything they did on the computer? Is that possible with this?
Yeah, you can also just have it continually recording as well, so that you have a backup of all the other information, so that you can see literally what they were looking at on their screen in the event, let's say, that you're doing an employee investigation or something like that. So you certainly can do that as well. And then the last section here in recorded data is programs. What this will show you is every single program that's ever used anywhere in your organization. So it'll automatically populate this list, and you'll see how long the employee is actually active. And if you click on one, you can actually see all the different window titles as well. So you can see specifically how long they were on each particular window title. So what this allows you to do is to see, where people are spending their time. All of this information is then quickly summed up for you in the dashboard reports. But this is a way that you could drill down to a particular employee or a particular department and see what are people doing. If Solitaire is the most highly used program in your accounting department, probably a pretty good indication that employees aren't being very productive there.
Seems like this records a massive amount of information. So what can I do to make sure that I don't get buried under that information?
That's actually a great question. Two things I'll say about that. Number one, everything that I've shown you here so far can be done on an a la carte basis. So, for example, you could, if you have 7,000 employees, you could potentially have 7,000 different levels of recording. Some people may have webmails recorded, other people don't. Some people may have everything turned on in let's say the customer support department, whereas maybe in your accounting department you only have other things being monitored. So everything can be done a la carte. But even if you have every single thing turned on, with the exception of screenshots, because that can change the numbers a little bit, the average user with everything turned on will only generate about 600K of data. So that's less than surfing 4 or 5 web pages. Because everything that we're grabbing, remember, is text. So while it looks like a lot of data, the actual size is very, very small. so you won't you won't have any problems with that. Additionally, if you have web filtering enabled, it will actually reduce your bandwidth, because remember that since we're at the endpoint, we stop the request right there. So if someone tries to go to ESPN and ESPN is blocked, as an example, it doesn't even make a request of your. It doesn't even go out beyond the desktop. So there's no request that's ever made.
I'm a little confused. You're saying that the request never makes it off of the computer. So how are you checking it against policies if it never hits the network?
That's because remember that our policies exist on the machine. There's a whole lot of advantages for that. That's one of the reasons why our decisions that we make are lightning fast. We don't actually have to connect to a server. We don't have to do any processing or crunching anywhere else. All the decisions are made at the endpoint. The policies actually exist on that endpoint, and we can make instantaneous decisions so that the system performance isn't impaired at all to the user. There's no slowdown whatsoever.
So if the policies exist on the machine, are you saying that you can provide full functionality even if somebody leaves the network?
Yeah, everything that I've shown you, the interesting thing about our software, which takes people a few times to really realize, is that if you have a laptop, let's say that it's a laptop that will never ever connect to the network, and once you've installed the software on that computer, it has full functionality. So it is just the same as if that computer were at the corporate headquarters. There's no need for it to check into a server for crunching of data. The only thing we do at the server, so we have a client-side piece and a server-side piece, but the only thing we do at the server is two things. Number one, it's a repository for information that we've recorded. And then number two, it is a place where if you create a policy on the server, the agent will actually pull it down. But we just communicate over standard internet. So as long as there's internet connection, it'll be able to create policy, it'll be able to grab policies, etc. And if there is no internet, it'll just store it locally to an invisible cache and then send the information to the server when there is a connection, when there is an internet connection. And that allows us to work 24/7, no matter whether there is or isn't a connection and whether we are ever connected to the network or not.